Well, thanks for coming. Good afternoon. Chris and I are happy that you are here to join us. I'm Melanie Wirth, a corporate dietitian, a registered dietitian that works with Taher Incorporated. Taher is the food service management company that runs the cafeterias here on the grounds. And we also do provide a lot of catering services. So please keep us in mind if you're ever looking for even a quick lunch catering up to some grandiose catering event. So that is the company that I work for. I've been with Taher for 15 years as promoting health and nutrition. I've started in healthcare. I've worked in K-12 and in the business and industry, so I have a lot of, I catch all age ranges really. And this is Chris, our corporate chef.
Hi, I'm Chris Oswald. I'm one of the corporate chefs with Taher. I've been at Taher about 20 years in the K-12 division. I started as a food service director and then moved into the chef role, and I've been doing this for about 10 years. So this is my first trip to St. Paul to work in the Capitol, but so far so good. I think it's a great thing that we get to speak with you guys about wellness and some health, and maybe give you guys some tips and recipes that you can try at home, as well as in your cafeteria. The particular recipe I'll be working on today will be available, I believe, next Wednesday in your cafeteria.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is Wednesday. So everyone has a desire to eat healthfully, live a healthy lifestyle, but it can be very difficult and challenging at times. So hopefully today you can leave with a couple tips, maybe some tools that you maybe didn't quite understand or didn't realize. So hopefully you'll leave this gathering with some extra information. So the recipe Chris is going to be making is also the recipe that we provided for you. It's the Gula Gula Salad. It starts with a G, but it's an H. I mispronounced that salad for a long time before the chef was like, "That's wrong, Melanie," but I'm like, okay. So it's a Peruvian salad. Chris can talk about that a little bit more. But it incorporates all of our macronutrients that everyone needs every day. Your macronutrients are your fat, your protein, and your carbohydrates to help keep our bodies healthy and running and full of energy. So,
all right, so if you look at the card in front of you, you'll see that there are 4 separate recipes. Please don't let that scare you. All of them are relatively simple, and I'll be demonstrating most of them up here, and I can probably get this done in 15 minutes. I mean, so it's not a difficult salad to construct. Some of the pieces to it you may have to work on ahead of time. For instance, the Salsa Criolla, which is really just a fancy word for pickled onions. It has to be done about 2 hours before you want to eat them, just to allow the flavors to develop. Other than that, we have a homemade vinaigrettes. Again, very simple if you look at the recipe, so please don't let the list of ingredients and the fact that there's little sub-recipes involved, I don't want that to scare you from, maybe trying this at home. All right, so we're going to start with the Salsa Criolla just because it is the one thing that has to have a little bit of time to marinate, although, through the magic of TV, we do already have some here done for you.
Yeah,
I just want to kind of demonstrate how you do it. So what we would do is we'd start with the red onion. I typically cut them in half. It just makes them that much easier. I also have a mandolin. Does any of you guys have a mandolin at home? They're great for, shaving paper thin vegetables. And that's how I like the onions. I don't like big, thick pieces of onion. So we're just going to start, and you're going to do probably about a half an onion is way more than you need to do like for 4 salads. Okay, and then the next step we would do is put this in ice water. You want to have it soak for about 30 minutes. Reason being, it really helps kind of draw out some of that liquid and mellows the flavor. Otherwise, red onions can become they have a bite to them. So if you put it in the ice water for about a half hour, it'll really kind of mellow that and pull that out. So then after the half hour, you would drain it very well, and then you're just going to add a few simple ingredients. The first one being kosher salt, and just a sprinkling of it. A small bit of white vinegar, and then to really add to the flavor, we add lime juice, and that's really all that there is as far as the pickling. You would want this to sit about 2 hours or so. Although longer is not going to hurt it at all. If you like spice, the recipe also calls for Anaheim pepper. If you cannot find an Anaheim, you can certainly use a poblano. I like using the Anaheim or poblano just because they don't have quite as much heat as some other peppers. But if you like your food spicy, feel free to grab whatever chili you choose and add to it. If you don't really like heat, go ahead and leave it out. It's not going to interfere with the recipe. So again, you're just going to thinly slice this. Okay. And you're just going to add that in. Okay, after the 2 hours is up and you drain this to use it, at that point we would add some fresh parsley. Okay, I don't like to add it now because it just kind of gets a little bit soggy. I just like it when it has that burst of freshness and doesn't get pickled along with the others. So that's all we need to do for the salsa criolla. At that point you can just, if you were at home doing this, pop it in your fridge and forget about it for a while. If you have leftovers, it's great on sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs. I mean, you name it, the salsa criolla is just a great condiment. Okay. We're going to move on to the dressing now. Again, very simple. It's a simple honey Dijon vinaigrette. Calls for 5 ingredients, 4 of which I'm guessing most of you may have in your home right now. That would be olive oil, red wine vinegar, honey, and Dijon mustard. Okay. The last ingredient is called Aji Amarillo. Aji Amarillo is a paste made from the Aji Amarillo pepper found in South America. Okay. Very, very difficult to find these fresh. You can sometimes find them frozen at Hispanic or other specialty stores that sell things from South America. Easiest place to find this, Amazon. Okay, just type in Aji Amarillo, the paste comes up and you can buy it by the jar, or if you really like it, you can buy quantities of it. But that's the easiest place to find this instead of running around town trying to hit 3, 4, or 5 grocery stores until you find it. Okay, so making a vinaigrette is very simple. We start with our vinegar, our honey, and our Dijon. The nice thing about adding a mustard to a vinaigrette is it helps emulsify, which means that it won't separate. Okay, so it really it holds the vinegar and the oil together, so you don't have that constant shaking that you have to do, like if you were just to make like an oil and vinegar Italian dressing. And in this recipe, the Dijon just adds a great flavor. Now I have found that different Dijons have a little bit different bite to them. If you buy like a Grey Poupon, one of the brand names, they seem to have a stronger vinegar flavor. So you may want to start with a smaller amount of Dijon if you're starting with one of the high quality Dijons, and then add as your taste develops. If you're buying one of the cheaper ones, then I would go ahead and follow the recipe as written. But what I found is when I added the full 2 tablespoons of the Grey Poupon, it was just a little bit too much bite, and the honey just didn't come through. And again, with the honey, the nice thing about dressings, if you like it sweeter, add more. If you don't want it as sweet, add less. Okay? I like to say that recipes are just kind of guidelines as to how to make a salad dressing. It gives you a great basis, but feel free to customize to your particular taste. Okay, so when we add the oil, we want to do it in a very slow drizzle. That kind of helps it emulsify and gives the mustard time to kind of take effect and bind it to the vinegar without it separating. If you add it all at once, sometimes it's hard to whip in and you'll still get that separation, and we don't want that in this particular recipe. And you'll also notice that as you're whipping it, that it will start to thicken. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to add to this then is the Aji Amarillo. Okay. This definitely does have spice to it, so again, you may want to add it gradually and taste as you go to make sure that you don't make it too sharp, for your own taste or for your family's taste. And it also makes it a wonderful yellow color. It has a lovely golden color. It reminds me of like a mashed butternut squash color. If I can show you the bottom of this, you can see. So it really adds a lovely yellow color. It does need to be refrigerated after opening, yes.
How long does that usually?
Because it has a little bit of acid in it, it actually lasts quite a while. I mean, not in my house because I do add it to a lot of other things. Just adds a really nice spice. I almost use it like you may add like a Tabasco or a Sriracha. That's how I use the Aji Amarillo. It doesn't have that really vinegarness of Tabasco, and it certainly doesn't have the bite of a Sriracha. So if you like just a little bit of heat, this is one of those things that you can just add as a condiment. So I'm sure that it would last for months in your refrigerator, you know, unless you decide you really like the flavor and use it all up. Okay, the very last thing that I add to that is just some green onion. Now, if you're not a fan of onion, we already have the pickled onion, and now we're adding the green. You can just skip the green. It's not going to change the flavor profile that much. We just like the way it looks in the dressing. It just gives it a little pop of color. So we're just going to mince up the green part. And we're going to add that right into our dressing. Okay, so very simple. And again, if you don't like onion, skip it. All right, now we're going to set that aside. And the last thing that we have to work on is our chicken. The recipe calls for just a pre-cooked chicken. We use chicken thighs because we like the flavor. But, you know, in talking to Melanie, we also know that's probably not the healthiest part of the bird. You don't have to use chicken thighs. So go ahead and use any pre-cooked chicken. If you have leftover grilled chicken at home, you can go ahead and use that. If you don't have time to make your own chicken and you want to stop at the grocery store and grab a rotisserie chicken, it's fine too. It'll work great. You won't tell your family that that's what you've done. You can pretend that you've roasted it yourself. Okay. I like to shred it. I just think that it has a much more natural look to it than if I were to do it. So when I cook the chicken, while it's still warm, I just pull it apart and shred it. And then to this, we're just going to add some red pepper. Okay. Again, some people really don't like all of these vegetables. I find that salad is the perfect way to incorporate vegetables. If your family says they're not vegetable eaters, just hide it in there. They'll eat it. They're not going to pick around, at least most of them. My husband would. But a lot of families won't. They'll just go ahead and eat it. Salads are a great way to use up what you have sitting in your produce drawers at home. And there's tons of health benefits that come along with, you know, adding all of these vegetables. All right, so then we just add this, just because otherwise it's just a, you know, drab brown color. So, you know, chicken's not the most appealing. So we just add the red, just so it has a little splash of color to it. I believe your recipe, again, just calls for just pre-cooked chicken. When I cook this, I like to use, I make a Peruvian rub at home, something similar to what we had when we went to Peru. I don't know if I mentioned that, but the chefs every year get to go to a different country. We study the cuisine of that country, and then we come back and we like to incorporate some of those flavors into our recipes. So those are some of the things that you might see in your cafeteria every so often, are things that we've actually brought back, not from a cookbook, but from the actual country. So when I cooked this chicken, I actually added things like smoked paprika, and cumin, oregano, lime. Smells great when it's cooking. I love using this when I grill. It just adds that much more flavor to the chicken itself. So when you get it, just taste it. You'll see that there's definitely some different spices on that chicken. Okay, so that takes care of our dressing, our salsa criolla, and our chicken. The last thing that you have a recipe there for would be the candied cashews. You're like, candy, I thought this was eating healthy. It's okay to have a little bit of sugar once in a while. Okay, that's one of the reasons that we make our own Dijon, and we can control the amount of sugar. Can you make this with a honey Dijon vinaigrette that you buy off the store shelves? Just buy a honey mustard dressing. Absolutely, you can. If you want to do, make another shortcut, all you have to do is add the Aji Amarillo paste right to that pre-bought dressing. You'll have a similar product. The problem I have with pre-bought dressings is I never know what's in it. How much sugar is in there? What other ingredients have they added? This way I know exactly what's in there. 4 ingredients off my shelf plus the Aji Amarillo. It's just a way to control the sugar, and then that way I don't feel so bad that I'm eating, cashews that are coated in sugar. So your particular recipe just calls for just sugar, melted slow, and then adding the cashews. If you're an experienced chef, this might work great for you. If you've never done this before, sugar has a tendency to burn and burn quite easily. Okay? In that case, what you might want to add to this recipe is about 1 tablespoon of water. What that'll do is it'll actually dissolve that sugar, so when it bubbles, it makes more of a syrup. And after you do that, eventually all that water will evaporate away, and then the sugar will actually crystallize right to your cashews. And then you'll just get these sugar coated. So as opposed to if you just do it with strictly sugar, It'll look more like peanut brittle by the time you're done. It'll have a hard candy coating. If you add the water, number one, it's harder to burn the sugar. So you won't get that burned sugar flavor or the burned cashews. And then you'll just kind of get this that has kind of a bumpy outside. And you'll see that when we do the samples. So that's how you make the cashews. And if you really don't want to add that sugar, just use roasted cashews or raw cashews or lightly salted cashews. All of that is still going to give you the benefits of having the nuts on the salad. You just won't have the added sugar. Okay, there's 2 other ingredients that we add. One is peaches. Your recipe calls for canned peaches. It says one can peaches in juice. Absolutely not heavy syrup ever. Light syrup maybe, but I usually go for the juice when I buy canned, which isn't very often. What we have here is frozen peaches that have been thawed. Frozen peaches. They're frozen with no sugar, so it really has a fresh flavor. The texture is a little more like eating a fresh peach, because as you know, peaches aren't available all year round. If it is, and that's when you're making the salad, by all means go to the produce department and buy those fresh peaches. But when it's not, I would just skip right over the canned and head right for the frozen food section. No added sugar. The texture is great. I think you'd be surprised at how fresh these peaches actually taste. Then the final thing is avocado. Okay, avocado has a lot of healthy fats, omega-3s, so it's just another way to get another one of those healthy fats into your diet. And the combination of all the flavors, is just, it's fresh, it has a little spice to it, has a little vinegar from the onions, so it's really kind of a fun, interesting combination of flavors. So I am going to make some samples to pass out to all of you. Hopefully you guys didn't fill up too much on lunch today and you have a little bit of space left. I know it's not dessert, but I'll add a little extra cashews. All right, so I'm going to get started on that if you want to take over.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Is there anything that you can sub for red wine vinegar? Like, I know I don't have that at home. Can you use red
You
wine
can use
vinegar?
apple cider vinegar. I wouldn't use just the white distilled. It has just it's a little bit too strong. If you have white wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, any of those. If you have a white balsamic, that would work. Okay. So does that sound like anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wouldn't go with the white distilled vinegar. It just has a little bit too much of a bite when you're making, a dressing.
And would you recommend using sea salt over kosher salt? I heard somewhere like, don't use kosher salt, use sea salt.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. It just has additional minerals in it. So yes, if you have it, by all means use it. Some people only have iodized table salt. I'm sorry. You can use it, but you almost need more salt in order to get the same flavor. So that's why I really prefer. And at home I do have a sea salt, and we have a number of salts, but kosher salt for me is just kind of my go-to everyday salt. We don't even have iodized salt in my house. So yeah, certainly go ahead and use sea.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
The recipe looks delicious. It is good, actually. I've had it. So one of the things we want to do is to try to boost your metabolism. Well, how do you do that, right? First, we need to eat breakfast every day. Breakfast helps start your metabolism. I know I have family members that do not eat until lunch, sometimes dinner, like they may not eat all day because they're just too busy. But if you stop, have something quick for breakfast, no matter what it is. If you can make a smoothie, if you can have something that you can just grab, maybe some hard-boiled eggs are great to just grab and go. Something to just start your metabolism, start your body, start your engines basically for the day. And try to do it within an hour of waking. Sometimes that's a little bit more difficult, but the sooner from when you woke and you're ready to go for your day is better. Eating six small meals a day is also another great way to help keep your metabolism running all day long. It just keeps your blood sugar stable, and there have been many studies that have found that high blood glucose levels are correlated with increasing triglycerides and your blood LDL levels, which are both related to increasing cardiovascular disease. So watching your sugar intake is not only because you have too much sugar in your body. There's a lot of negative effects that all this sugar can cause on our heart, not our heart disease and other issues like that. Not only fat. Everyone knows that saturated fat and eating trans fat can increase your chances for cardiovascular disease, but also high intakes of sugar, which is why the USDA has new guidelines on trying to reduce the amount of sugar that people intake every day. So just kind of keep that conscious. And when you make your own dressings, when you prepare things from home from scratch, you have a lot more control on how much sugar you are actually taking in. But the blood sugar will help maintain. Sometimes you get those spikes if you eat a lot of sugary drinks, or caffeine even does it, and then you plummet. As your blood sugar plummets, your energy also does. So just try to keep it at a nice level, blood level. Eat a balanced diet. This one is, you've heard probably since kindergarten, to eat a balanced diet. Well, what is a balanced diet? Making sure you eat your lean proteins. Lean proteins can be eggs, can be your nuts, lentils, black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. There's so many different soy products out there now that have great protein sources. And then of course your animal products, your chicken, poultry, pork, and beef, fish. So just kind of keep your variety of proteins. Don't always go to your go-to. Everyone has a go-to protein that they like. It might be steak, it might be chicken, it might be black beans. But try to get a variety in. There are a lot of whole ancient grains that have a lot of protein in them as well. So make sure you get different variety of protein sources to ensure that you get your essential amino acids. So amino acids, your body can make some amino acids, but your essential ones you have to get through diet. And amino acids are great for repairing muscles after exercise, and just keeping you strong. Make sure your carbohydrates are complex. There are two different carbohydrates, two different classes: complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. Does anyone know what a complex carbohydrate is? Yeah, exactly. It's the whole grains. It would be your beans and lentils, your fruits and your vegetables. Those are complex carbohydrates. So when people want to try to reduce the amount of carbohydrates they ingest, I would suggest you reduce the simple carbohydrates, which are your highly refined sugars and flours, things like that. Any products that use those types of things. So usually baked goods are not made with whole grain, because it just doesn't quite have the same flavor. Although there's a lot of great breads, great pizza crusts and things like that that are made with whole grains. And then limit your simple carbohydrates: sodas, colas. I'm trying to think, anything that people consider our junk food are kind of like a simple carbohydrate. Your donut. Even though everyone wants those every once in a while, that's okay. Just let's try to limit how often we eat those simple carbohydrates. Eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Some people say half your plate should be fruits and vegetables. I use a rule of 5. Try to get a combination of 5 a day. That way you're kind of consciously making sure that you're getting the adequate amount you need a day. And I've taught my kids to count how many fruit and vegetables they eat a day. So that's something that is in the back of their mind, and they may not eventually think about it. It just kind of becomes a habit and part of what they do. So hopefully I'm teaching them some good skills, but you never know. But 5 a day. So half a cup of juice is a fruit, just a half a cup, not a full cup. A hand fruit is usually considered 1. Half a cup of cooked vegetable. For lettuce, usually if you have 1 cup of lettuce, it correlates to half of a cup of a vegetable. So because it's kind of bulky and airy, it takes up more space. So make sure you're kind of counting and keeping track of what you eat. And eat a rainbow of colors. Like in this salad, we have a lot of the dark greens, which are loaded with vitamin K. We have red and orange fruits and vegetables, which are loaded with your vitamin A. And yellow, which is loaded with vitamin C. So when you see those colors, you can think of great nutrients and micronutrients that you are eating and ingesting and putting into your body every day. Drink plenty of water. I see you brought water. That's wonderful. If you have a bottle that you can carry with you, that's the best way to make sure you're hydrated. If during the day you start feeling like you're getting a headache, think about when was the last time you had a drink of water. Because a lot of people become dehydrated. Get a headache is one of the first symptoms of dehydration. So if you have a headache, drink some water or some fluid. Successfully eating healthy. Live a balanced life and find a balance that works for you. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And find something that you can live with for the rest of your life. Just weight loss, like meeting your goal of a certain weight, you have to continue on or you will go back to where you were. So I think of a healthy lifestyle as a journey rather than a goal, because you will have this lifestyle for the rest of your life. So just kind of keep a broader range or broader aspect of what is happening and what you are doing. So find a balance that works for you. If it's exercising in the morning, or maybe every other day, or maybe you're not a morning person, you're going to do it in the middle of the day during lunch, find something that works for you and for your family. Surround yourself with healthy snacks, not just at home, but at work. Everyone gets that afternoon itch where they're starting to get hungry, starting to feel a little tired. Have a healthy snack in your desk. Could be some sort of nuts, almonds, pistachios, cashews, something easy to just grab. Cut up fruit and vegetables. If you have them cut up at your home or cleaned, people are more likely to eat them. I know if I come home with fresh produce and I have broccoli and cauliflower and maybe some jicama, it's going to sit in the produce drawer until I cut it up. So make sure you cut it up. If they like dip with their veggies, add a hummus. You can make your own hummus if you want to, or there's plenty out on the market right now of all kinds of different flavors. Hummus is a great way to add protein too, because it's made from chickpeas. So it's a good protein source versus just eating a ranch dressing. Not saying ranch is bad. If that's the way you can eat your vegetables, go for it. Just make sure it's not, a cup of ranch for a half a cup of veggie. Just keep the proportions healthy. Also think about when you're snacking, you should take the snack out of the bulk bag and put it on a plate. Otherwise, if you have a thing of nuts, you may finally realize that you just ate half of that jar of nuts. Even though the nuts are healthy for you, it's still a lot of calories you just ate. So I like to portion them out, dump it out onto a little plate or a bowl, so then I know exactly how much I am eating. Sometimes you can get caught up and just keep eating and not realizing. I'm like, oh no, the whole bag of chips is gone. I just ate an entire bag of chips, so make sure you portion them out. Read ingredient labels, not just the nutrition facts, but also the ingredients. That's probably the biggest thing, is to know what is in your food. We need to try to reduce preservatives, reduce the amount of sugars. Sugars are hidden in your food. So if you look at the grams of sugar, that will tell you how many grams are in there, because the ingredients, they have tricky ways so it doesn't say sugar, it might say a sugar alcohol, it might have honey, it might have, I can look at, none of these ingredients will tell me that, but some of the products have a lot, especially salad dressings. If you get a low-fat salad dressing, there's going to be more sugar in that salad dressing than in the regular fat, because they need to make up for the flavor that has been lost because they reduced the fat. So just kind of keep those things. Just because it says low fat doesn't necessarily mean it's a better option for you. But make sure you're reading your ingredient labels. That's one thing we do at Taher, is we are trying to eliminate some ingredients that we don't want in our food. So trans fat we have already removed from our products. We removed those far before it was even really a thing that people knew about. MSG is one we do not cook with. We might have, like I noticed in the cafeteria, we have Doritos, and Doritos have MSG in them, but we try not to sell. We sell very few products that have MSG in them, and we are advancing this list to try to help bring healthier products and foods to all of our customers, all the way from preschool till senior dining. So we are doing this throughout the entire company. Plan your meals. Make sure you figure out what works for you. If you know Tuesday night we have a basketball game tonight, and I get home at 5 and we need to leave by 5:15, because that happens a lot, try to have something in mind. Maybe you have leftovers that you can just pull out of the fridge, quickly warm up, eat, and be gone, or take with you for the car ride. Just try to plan ahead. We do that a lot in our household, so I'll make I usually cook on certain days when I know we're not super busy, and I make enough that we have leftovers for the next day, and then try to stagger it so it works. So on Fridays we do a lot of like clean the kitchen out days, because on Friday I do not want to cook. That's like the last thing I want to do. I don't know why. I get home from work and I'm like, I'm done, I'm not cooking today. We clean out the fridge. So someone might have leftover pizza, someone might have tacos, someone might have a salad. We all have whatever it is in the fridge that we have left. So that's just a great way to try to plan your meals for the week. If you need to do your grocery shopping on Saturday, do meal prep. There's a lot of social media sites where they show you how to prep for the entire week. Like you might cook your chicken and then it's for 5 days, and you can do many different things with that chicken for 5 days. So those are just things you can maybe freeze some meals, whatever works for you. I would love to live in Europe, where they go home and on their way home they stop at the market and grab their fresh meat, their fresh produce, and their bread and cook whatever that was. But in reality, that would probably only work 2 days of my week, because all the rest are too full for me to take that time. So just try to find what works for you and your family. Don't seek for a balanced life, let's seek for a balanced day. This goes back to introducing and knowing what the phases of setting up new habits are. New habits are hard to develop, and old habits are hard to break. It takes several weeks, months to break old habits and start new ones. So phase one is phase one of habit formation is the honeymoon stage, which everyone is like, oh, this is easy, it's great, I'm going to be so successful at this. You're feeling very empowered and ready to go. Then phase two comes, and that's the fight through stage, where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You really have to push yourself all the way through it. Inspiration fades, your reality sets in, where your life is just catching up to you and you feel like you can't do it all. You find yourself struggling with the positive habits and maybe regressing back to those old ones. And the key for phase two and to make it to phase three is to fight through it. Just keep going. I like to run. I can tell you the first time I ran, probably the first year I ran, I did not like it at all. I hated it. But I knew I had to do something, because I was in college and I ate far worse than I ever did when I was at home with mom and dad. So I would, and even today, like there are days where I have terrible runs, I will look at that chair and I'll be like, okay, I can run to that chair. And I'll run to that chair. And then if I think I can run further, I'll try to find something else that's just a little further. So I try to keep increasing my mileage, increasing your time by pushing yourself. And then when I'm done, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And then there's days when I'm done, I'm like, oh, that was terrible. Why do I even run? So there's good days and there are always bad days. And that can go with anything. It can go with running, it can go with eating, it can go with life in general. So phase three, that's the second nature feeling. When you feel like, oh, I can do this is what I've been doing forever. You have your rhythm down, you have your routine down. But sometimes you get complacent and then you kind of slowly regress back to where you were initially. It might take months, but you can slowly, so you need to pay attention to, so you ate really well all 5 days this week. You're like, yeah, I can mess up for these next 2 days, and then it becomes the next 2 days after that, and then it's like, I'll start it again in a month. So just try to keep a conscious, the conscious in the back of your mind, what is going on and what you're doing and what might be causing it. Life can cause interruptions, illnesses, vacations are huge because you're not on your normal routine at all. So good health equals a good life. If you're happy, you're going to have a much healthier life overall. You might not be at your ideal weight or what you think your ideal weight is, but weight isn't always what you need to look at. You need to look at what's best for you in your life. Did I miss anything? I feel like I really flew through that, so I'm sorry. Do you guys have any questions or any comments for us? Any questions about the recipe? About what we serve in the cafeteria? Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering about fruit because I hear one thing where it's like fruit is, you know, you can have as much as you want and replace desserts with fruit and have 5 servings of fruit, but then I hear like it's sugar and it's the same as, you know, in your body as like bad sugar and don't have so much fruit, and so I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Well, it does have a lot of sugar, but it's not a manufactured sugar. And I think the amount, like in an apple, so an apple has about 90 calories, and it's all carbohydrate. So just because it's a carbohydrate doesn't mean it's sugar. That apple's going to have a lot less sugar in that 90 calories than if you ate, had a soda with sugar. So the sugar levels are very different. So eating a sugar in your fruit is much lower in sugar than if you ate it in a cookie or a brownie or something like that.
So 3 servings of fruit a day is good.
Yes, yes.
Well, because there's other health benefits.
Right,
I mean, there's
you have
vitamins, there's fiber. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to look at the whole picture.
Yeah, and people talk about empty calories. Empty calories are in your sodas, are in your cookies. I don't know why this keeps popping up. Those types of things. This salad is loaded with it has calories, but it's loaded with your vitamins, your micronutrients, your macronutrients, minerals, so many different things that this little plate has compared to what a little cookie would have. So you can't just look at calories in, calories out, or sugar in, sugar out. You have to look at the source of it. But yeah, fruit, and some people really enjoy fruit and other people don't. And there is a genetic predisposition of liking fruit or not. So, because I am one that I would much rather have fresh veggies than fresh fruit. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate the interaction and the great questions that everyone had. Actually gives us some other ideas, like we can talk more about organic versus not organic and the benefits and the drawbacks of either. A lot comes up with, should I have frozen vegetables? Should I have canned vegetables? Should I have fresh vegetables? That also brings up a lot of questions too. So those are some great ideas that came to my mind that we can do in the future. So. Thank you so much for coming.